A fifth straight victory Monday. It feels so good, Vikings fans. So coming up on today's show, I want to dive into some of the top overreactions from the Week 5 win against the New York Jets. But before we dive into it, in my opinion, the bye week for the Minnesota Vikings did or could not have came at a better time. Like, there are so many injuries with this team. Aaron Jones is banged up. Even Sam Darnold, he looks to get hobbled up, here and there. And obviously you got TJ Hockenson returning from injury. Like, in my opinion, the great news for the Vikings on this Monday is that the bye week is here. And normally I'm not a fan of the early bye week, but with the Vikings situation, I think it makes, it's advantageous for them to get this out of the way early and get healthy, because we do have some other positive injury news. Aaron Jones, apparently he'll be all good to go. This was tweeted out by the Purple Persuasion. He said, initial word is that by the time the Vikings return to action after the Week 6 bye, Aaron Jones should be good to go. So that is fantastic. I was definitely a little worried about that hip injury. He had a heat pack on it after the game, and we saw how poor the Vikings rushing offense was once he left. But also, this bye week is huge for two key players. I think obviously TJ Hockenson, he'll be out there versus the Detroit Lions. He had a chance to play this past week versus the Jets in London, but with the surface area on the playing field, I just thought it was a little too, risky to roll him out there. But then Sam Darnold as well. Like, this dude has taken so many hits over the last couple of weeks. Like, the Texans banged him up. The Packers got to him. The Jets had a massive hit on him where I thought for a chance he broke his ribs. So he needs this bye week, and obviously, Hawk and Aaron Jones as well. But we'll get into overreactions here in a second. But first, I do want to say thank you guys so much. Our watch party was awesome yesterday, and we got over 200,000 views, which is incredible. So thank you guys so much. We also picked up over 1,200 subs yesterday. So if you guys haven't already and want to join our Vikings Now family here at Chat Sports, hit that subscribe button, lock us in. Help us reach 36K. I cannot believe I'm saying that. But seriously, guys, if you guys want to help us out here, hit that sub button. What's going on, guys? My name is Patrick Siepman. Now let's dive into some of the top overreactions from the Week 5 win versus the New York Jets. But first, I do want to show you guys a very, very interesting stat. So if you guys know, the Vikings have only trailed for 3 minutes and 26 seconds this season, which is actually against the New York Giants in Week 1. But I looked up, and ESPN actually tweeted out this graphic, the least amount of times trailing through 5 games since the 1970 merger. The Vikings came in at 4th, but you had the Saints in 2009. What did they do? They won the Super Bowl. The Dolphins in 84, they lost in the Super Bowl. The Niners in 2023, they lost in the Super Bowl. The 99 Rams, they won the Super Bowl. And then the 1998 Denver Broncos, they won the Super Bowl as well. So what does all that tell me? The deep analytics saying the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl. I just thought that was a cool stat. Like, the Vikings have played 4 really good football teams over the last 4 weeks, and they did not trail for a single second. I think that just truly speaks to how talented they are. But let's dive into some of the overreactions here. So number one for me is that Andrew Van Ginkel should win Defensive Player of the Year. And this play he had on Aaron Rodgers yesterday was awesome. But I thought just overall what Van Ginkel has done for this defense has been really special. And he truly is a perfect scheme fit with what Flores likes to do. And I know it's crazy to have a guy like Van Ginkel who's not like a big household name like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, but I think he's playing the best football in the league on the defensive side of the field. Now, what made this play so special? So it's the bread and butter, Brian Flores, 6, 7, 8 guys lined up on the line of scrimmage, and Rodgers has to pick and choose who's coming. And then we get to the next screen here. Rodgers, he had 2 in-breaking routes. These are his hot routes, and he was going to take those right away. And then Van Ginkel, he actually talked about after this game, he was supposed to go on this play. He was supposed to blitz the quarterback, but he kind of give him a hezzy in. The left guard or right guard kind of backed up. Van Ginkel dropped back, and then he was able to take it to the house. And, I think just the combination of, one, his athletic ability. He is a freak athlete. Like, he's got really good size on him. He's very fast. He's very elusive when he's getting to the quarterback. But also just the brains, the IQ of Van Ginkel. Like, it's truly, truly special what he has done for this team, and he's just a special player. I mean, I think it's so funny when I, throw up his stats right here. Like, the fact that I am including sacks, interceptions, and touchdowns, I mean, that just speaks to how versatile he is. And, the buzzword around the Brian Flores defense this past season was versatility. And I thought the Vikings did a great job this offseason of getting players who fit that scheme perfectly. Like, not just Van Ginkel, but a guy like Blake Cashman. He is fit in perfectly. as well, and even like a Shaq Griffin pickup. Like the third corner, he's played his ass off this year. But, if I had to pick my favorite pickup from this offseason, it would have to be Van Ginkel, and that's even over guys like Darnold and Aaron Jones. But number 2 for me is the offense will be fine. And I know there's a lot of panic amongst Vikings fans. Like, the offense really stalled out in the second half. They weren't really able to get anything going. Like, the run game was terrible, and I hear that. And, the stats don't lie. Like, you only accumulate 82 rushing yards on 30 carries yesterday. Ty Chandler, he had that bad fumble as well, leading to one of the 2 turnovers. And Darnold, the interception, it was just a bad read by him. He was trying to layer the football over the linebacker underneath the safety. It just floated a little too much. But, the third down conversion, 4 of 13, not too good. Only accumulated 253 yards of total offense. But when I'm watching this team and I'm watching this offense play, the one gripe I have with them is when teams know you have to run the football. The Vikings haven't been able to do that so far this year. Yes, against, I think it was the Niners game. They had that, closing drive where they were really able to run the ball. But, when they're really finishing these games, you're just putting a whole lot on Justin Jefferson. And it almost felt like yesterday, especially in that second half, it almost just felt too forced. Like the deep shots over and over and over again. Like I love throwing the ball to 18. If he's got one-on-one, you take that every single time. But Darnold just kind of fell into a trap of just like, oh, F it. 18's down there somewhere. I'll go get him the football. And, I thought KOC, I thought he got a little too aggressive, too much, play action and all that. But, anytime you're forcing the ball to Jefferson, I'm not too upset about it. But I just felt like yesterday, you had other opportunities to get Naylor, Addison the ball a little more. But, people are freaking out about Sam Darnold. And, he had his worst game for the Minnesota Vikings, but he has still had an awesome year. Like, I'm not just going to have one game against a very, very good Jets defense throw away what he has done for the entire season. He is number 1 in raw EPA per play, number 1 in adjusted EPA per play, number 1 in composite EPA plus CPOE score, and he's also number 1 in completion percentage over expected. So I understand Darnold. He struggled yesterday. We kind of saw glimpses of his own past a little bit, but also he did not throw that football game away. I thought he had a chance to, especially on that last drive. Vikings are up 20-17. He had a beautiful layered throw to Justin Jefferson over the middle of the field for 30-plus yards. Like, he was still able to convert when the Vikings really needed him the most. But number 3 for me, I think this is a Super Bowl defense. Really, I think the Vikings defense this year, it is the storyline. Like, I love giving credit to what Kevin O'Connell and that offense has done. But if I had to really, pinpoint one thing that has led to this 5-0 start, it has to be the defense. And I thought they were very good yesterday against the Jets. Obviously forced Rodgers into 3 turnovers. That was fantastic. But unfortunately, I do have some bad news. The Vikings are actually not in first in total sacks this season. The Giants passed them yesterday as they had 7, but they rank out very well. Now, pass yards per game, people are going to freak out. They're 30th in the league. Keep this in mind. The past 2 quarterbacks, Rodgers and Love, they threw the ball over 100 times on this defense. It's just natural, the game flow. They get down, they're going to throw the ball a whole lot more. But this is the stat I love the most. Rush yards per game, only giving up 67. You take away the run, you get him in 3rd and longs, and Brian Flores can really, get creative with what he's trying to do. And also 3rd down percentage. 5th in the NFL. It's just fantastic. But, I was talking to my dad yesterday and my uncle, and we were just talking about Brian Flores. And we kind of got to the conclusion, I think he's gone. And I understand all the, off the field stuff with the ownership and all that. Like, a team is not going to be, 100% certain that Brian Flores is going to be the for sure right man for the job. But what he has done on defense with how unique that system is, if he can take that, go to another team, and they can be one of the best defenses in the league, I just think at the end of this year, like, we could be looking for another defensive coordinator. But, with the trade deadline coming up, let's think about this defense. And, I think the Vikings are a trade away from being one of the best defenses in NFL history. Now, I think if they had to make a move for a guy, it would probably be Jeffrey Simmons. That would be the all-in move with the Titans struggling this year. Maybe they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. Maybe you throw them next year's first and like a 3rd-round pick in the future. Like, I would be all in on that because I really do believe, like, even though our preseason expectations of this football team were, 7 to 10 wins, relatively amongst all Vikings fans, but they're already at 5, and I think they're one of the best football teams in the league. Get them another star on defense, and I think it could be a very, very fun year. But I'll ask you guys this. Should the Vikings go all in at the trade deadline? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's show, so if YouTube throws an ad break your way, sit back, let it play, and let me know your thoughts if the Vikings should go all in at the trade deadline. Coming up next, I want to talk about Kevin O'Connell because there is some buzz on Vikings Twitter and amongst Vikings fans that maybe he is just getting a little too cute with his play calling, specifically on short yardage situations. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, if you guys are trying to get a ticket for a very, very important game for this Vikings team. Lions at Vikings. It takes place October 20th in US Bank Stadium. I don't know if this will be flex to a primetime game, but if you guys want to get tickets to this, use the Game Time app and plug in promo code ChatSports on your first purchase, and we'll hook you guys up with $20 off. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, my favorite feature of the Game Time app is the Views from Your Seat feature, which allows you to get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy the ticket to whatever event it may be. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, let's talk about Kevin O'Connell because, I do think he got a little cute yesterday, especially in that second half. He got too aggressive. I thought he was trying to force the ball to Jefferson, like I mentioned. But, the main gripe that I've seen from Vikings fans is on the short yardage situations. Like, too much on 3rd and 2, 4th and 2. I feel like Kevin O'Connell is almost overthinking it a little bit. And, again, this is me not bashing him, saying he's been a terrible offensive coordinator. He's a top 5 play caller in the league, but he has struggled on short yardage situations. Like, we have the good example of the Jordan Addison touchdown against the Packers. You give him the ball in the jet sweep, he puts his foot in the dirt, makes a man miss, and he's in the end zone. But you also have the same play later in that Packers game. 4th and 1, you have a chance to put the game away. You go a jet sweep again to Jalen Naylor. That gets stuffed. And, yesterday just felt like too much of the soft Vikings. And, what I mean by that was, before Kevin O'Connell really, instilled a toughness in this culture this offseason where they were hitting in training camp, they were hitting in preseason. Like yesterday, specifically in that second half, it just felt like the old Vikings, like the Vikings from the last 2 years where they're going to beat you on the outsides. They're not going to beat you in the trenches. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think this football team is at its best when they're a physical. They are a downhill. They like to, get the ball going on the ground type of football team instead of what they had yesterday. I just felt like they were a little soft against the New York Jets in the second half. But that's really my only gripe with Kevin O'Connell on this year. I felt like he's been fantastic. The culture he has instilled has been awesome. But, again, he's getting a little too cute on the short down play calling. But I'm sure he'll get in the lab this bye week and fix that, no doubt. But let's talk about the kicker. Will the MFing thrill, Will Reichard. He was awesome again yesterday. There was a cool clip after the game. Kevin O'Connell was giving one of his famous post-game speeches, and he actually gave Will Reichard a game ball. He was just, showing him some love because he's been awesome to start this year. I mean, he's 9-9 from the field goal department, 16-16 on extra points, and he hit one from 53 and 54 yesterday. He also hit one from 58 in the prior weeks. But, I think we have a franchise kicker. Obviously, I was a little nervous saying this, but is the kicker curse broken? Now, I specifically remember talking about this with a couple of my family members when Blair Walsh had an unbelievable start to his NFL career, and then obviously we know what happened in the wild card game against the Seahawks. But, Will Reichard, he looks cool, calm, and collected anytime the Vikes throw him out there. And, maybe, just maybe the kicker curse is broken here in Minnesota. But if you guys watched this entire thing and made it to the end, give me a skull down below in the comments section. I want to look like US Bank Stadium on game day. So if you guys could, give me a skull down below. And also, give me a follow on Twitter if you guys want more around your Minnesota Vikings. That's the handle right there, at Pat Sieps. Give me a follow over there, or I'll give you guys a follow right back. But see you guys next time. Skol Vikes.